I hope you're all doing well and are ready to dive into the fascinating world of application security. Welcome to today's webinar by RedFox Security on breaking into application security. As we gear up for Cyberstorm, which is Mumbai's largest CTF, this webinar is perfect opportunity to sharpen up your skills and gain insights into how applications are broken and secure to make the digital world a safer place. Whether you are a beginner who is curious about cybersecurity or someone who is looking up to level up, today's session promises to both being insightful and engaging. We are honored to have two incredible speakers with us today. Joseph Simon, a postgraduate with a Master of Science in Computer Science. Joseph has helped companies to secure their applications and infrastructure by identifying vulnerabilities and guiding them toward stronger defense systems. His lies in web, mobile, and API security, vulnerability assessments, and configuration audits. Our next speaker is Atharva Nanche, a graduate with Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. Atharva specializes with web, API, and Android application pen testing, as well as thick client security. He is also well versed with vulnerability assessment and configuration audits using tools like Nessus. Together, they will walk us through the essentials of breaking into application security, shedding light on attack vectors, vulnerabilities, and skill needed to make a mark in this field. Without further delay, let's dive right in. Please welcome Joseph Simon and Atharva Nanche.
Hi everyone, myself Joseph. I have Atharva with me. So we will be just demonstrating to you guys about how you can break into the wonderful world of application security. Yeah, so before we begin, I would like to shed some light on the Cyberstorm CTF that we are hosting with the collaboration with GDG. Yeah. What we are planning to host a CTF that will be on the 5th of April, and that will be an offline event that is. Before that, there will be an elimination round that will be hosted online, and that will be done on the 29th of March. So just to give you guys an like overview of what this particular CTF is going to be looking like. So this particular CTF will have like anyone can join this particular CTF. It is completely for beginners as well as for professionals who are like doing this for about 1 or 2 years. So each and every one is like really welcome to joining our CTF. Our team, not only the GDG team, but the RedFox team is also continuously working rigorously hard for planning out this event and putting together a successful event. So hope that works out. So yeah, so just giving you guys about what we do at RedFox Security before we begin our session. So RedFox Security is a consulting like organization. We do a lot of pen testing. We put a lot of content on YouTube, and we do have an academy channel as well. Redfoxsec.com, where we provide trainings for individuals who are like trying to learn or get into the cybersecurity world, right? So because when we talk about cybersecurity, it does contain a lot of things, right? So when we talk about cybersecurity, the skills that you should have is about so vast. So you should at least be aware about the skill sets, right? So that is the reason we are continuously pumping out courses on our academy as well as on the YouTube as well. So yeah, when we talk about skill set in cybersecurity, it's not just limited to red teaming and blue teaming or a specific skill set like web application, infrastructure hacking, or IoT hacking. We do have a lot of things, right? So just to make you guys really understand and make it feasible or understandable to you guys, so we are doing this. So yeah, the core services that we provide are like pen testing of web applications, API security, red teaming, you name it. We provide each and every security assessments available on the market. including IoT testing as well. Yeah, so here is the current Patel. That is our CEO and the technical director of RedFox Security. He's an amazing guy. He works almost the entire day. I haven't like even when we are on assessments, right? He begins his day around 9 o'clock. He's up before any other consultants, and even if you just ping him at night, he's still up, working his ass off each and every day to just like with the mentality of helping clients secure their infrastructure, applications, etc. Yeah. So here's me, myself, Joseph. I have about experience about 2.5 years. I do specialize in application security, including web applications like Android, iOS, and red teaming as well. That is network security. So AD pen testing. I'm also a volunteer at Breach Force. So if you are like into communities, joining communities, you can just register at Breach Force as well. That is a wonderful community where the like-minded people who are uh, like really interested in cybersecurity and offensive security focus. So like they do conduct sessions every month on monthly basis. Yeah. So with me, I have Atharva. He is my colleague. He works with the same things that I do, the application security and network security aspect of things. He will give an introduction when he does the his part. Like he will be explaining in today's session. I will be covering about web application and API. How do we navigate that particular aspect of skill sets? And Atharva will be covering about Android pen testing, Android and iOS pen testing, basically. So we do provide a lot of training. We have covered it in various international and local conferences. This includes Besides Goa. This is one of the. This is just a image dump of the event which we organized on Besides Goa. Also, we are selected for the Black Hat USA 2025. So this is over here. We will be providing a training on sneak peek or introduction to chip of forensic. Basically, we will be providing a training session on hardware pen testing. Yeah. So with this, we have completed the introduction part. We will be moving on to our real session. So in this today's session, we are going to be covering what is an AppSec, what is AppSec, the skills that are typically associated with AppSec, and how do you like build a pen test methodology or navigate this space, cybersecurity space, right? So yeah, So yeah, what is AppSec? The most important question, right? So it is a process of identifying, fixing, and preventing security vulnerabilities throughout the entire software development cycle. That is, so even before we design an applications, right? So the components of that particular web application that is going to be used, not only the vulnerabilities that arise in the code, but it like the vulnerabilities that are associated with the components. Like for example, if there is a misconfiguration between the how the application processes queries of databases, for example, that will result in SQL injection or no SQL injection. So that type of planning, like planning to identify planning during the design phase, as well as identifying vulnerabilities during each and every phases of the software development lifecycle is what we are trying to accomplish with AppSec, right? So why should we do AppSec? The key areas of focus that we include are the secure coding practices or threat modeling and risk assessment, vulnerability detection and mitigation. That is what we do in pen testing, and security testing. So when we talk about security testing, so what types of testing do we do? Basically, we do have a SAST as well as DAST. So SAST, when we talk about SAST, so SAST is basically static testing of that particular application. So when we talk about static, so we are provided with the application source code, and we are like trying to look for the functionalities that are really important. And then what we do is we try to find vulnerabilities by doing a particular scan or manually do the testing of that particular application, that is. And when we talk about dynamic testing, it is during the runtime we like intercept using burp suit and find out vulnerabilities in that particular way. Yeah. So why should you choose AppSec? So when we talk about AppSec, it is a highly it is highly in demand, and it does have a great career growth, right? So when not only career growth, you get to learn each and like, for example, if you talk about a single application, right? So and for example, for that particular application might have like three of the environment, that is the uh, development environment, and the other environment that it might have is the publicly exposed environment, or the what we can say, uh, the development environment is the initial environment which they typically use which they typically try to test out various functionalities of the application. The environment that they typically have is pre-prod environment and the production environment. So production environment is a public environment that typically all the people, or that is typically used to exposed to the internet. Yeah. And the development and the pre-prod environment are typically inside their internal network, which should not be accessible to other people, right? So when we talk about these three environments, it will highly vary the amount of dependency files or the interaction between different components of the web application highly differs when we talk about even the same application but in three different environments, right? So that is what I was trying to say, that sorry what I was trying to say was like when we talk about even a single application in different environments, we can see a lot of change. So it is really crucial to understand each and every component and how these particular applications interact with each and every components. Yeah. And the another aspect that we typically cover in AppSec is the research opportunities. It has great amount of research opportunities, and you can also do bug bounty hunting as well as your part-time career opportunity. Yeah, or your full-time as well. Yeah. So the skills, when we talk about AppSec, the skills that we typically look for when we are trying to hire hire individuals are like API pen testing, web app pen testing, mobile pen testing, and client pen testing. So yeah, we will be discussing about these particular skill sets in brief, in detail. Okay. So when we talk about learning a particular skills, right? So how should we go about that? Yeah. So the initial phase, during the initial phase, what I recommend beginners do is like understand the basics of cybersecurity, that is basic terminologies and concepts. Learn about how web applications interact with their own components. For example, their databases, their backend logic, their server, and how each and everything plays out. Just get an understanding of each and everything works. Yeah. You should also learn about yeah, the vulnerabilities that typically may arise in a particular application. For example, if it is a web application, you can look for OS top 10 and for web applications, and you get a list of most critical, not critical, but top 10 vulnerabilities, that is categorized based on their frequency that they occur in applications, their severity and impact. Uh, at Portugal, what you can do is it provides free labs accessible for everyone to learn and understand the security vulnerabilities, and also provide with a mitigation. Okay, so once you do get an understanding, comprehensive understanding of how what are the basics of cybersecurity, and once you do understand the common vulnerabilities, so you can get hands-on and start building your own methodology. Once you do that, also learn about the reporting, which is a really crucial aspect of pen testing, because whenever we talk about pen testing, right? So it is our duty to provide a comprehensive report for each and every client that is, right? Because our goal at the end of the day is not about finding more vulnerabilities. It is about securing your client environment, uh, so that they are pleased with us as well, right? Yeah. So after you do that reporting and you understand the basic vulnerabilities, that is the next phase, what you could do is you could move into more advanced vulnerabilities, or like vulnerabilities that you could chain, and you develop your own set of tool sets to like test your own like to that fits your own methodology, right? Yeah. So before we begin talking about the web application, how do you study that? Just to give you guys an overview of what pen testing methodology looks like. So pen testing methodology can be summarized into 5 phases. So the first one is the reconnaissance phase. So basically, what you do is you get all the information about that particular target. So when we talk about a web application, what you could do is you could look for the technologies it is using. You could also gather information about the server by doing an nmap scan or a nessus scan from an external environment. Yeah, you could do that and get all sort of information about that particular target, and you could start getting into the next phase with the information that you have collected. So the next phase like has scanning. So basically, when we talk about scanning, it is basically fuzzing or looking through the application to find for potential vulnerabilities in functionalities, right? So when we talk about scanning, it can be a manual scan or a like automated scan. What you could do is you could just fuzz using different tools to get at least to look for vulnerabilities in a particular functionality. So for example, if there is a login functionality, you could just manually do a lot of manual testing. That is basically you will look for potential vulnerabilities like SQL injection, no SQL injection, or you will just look for directory brute forcing. That also comes under scanning. So these are the things that you typically do when we talk about scanning. So once you do your scanning, you might find some potential attack vectors like parameters or other functionalities that you want to assess, right? So when we do a scanning, you get an understanding of how this particular application works. You should just go through your worksuit logs and just find out things that may find interesting, right? So yeah, that's like for scanning. And when we talk about vulnerability assessment, so this is when you really dig deep, right? Starting to dig deep. So over here, when you so after this particular phase, you will have potential for functionality that you want to target, right? So you will try and execute your test cases that you have collected or decided to implement in your methodology. So once you do that, you will start to look for vulnerabilities. And once you find a particular vulnerability, or you find some clues that it might be vulnerable to some sort of attack, what you do is you move on to the next phase, that is the exploitation. So once you confirm the vulnerability, the existence of the vulnerability, you will try and escalate to the next step. So that is the exploitation phase. Yeah. And after you complete the exploitation, you will provide the um, client with a proper report, right? So in real world, how this plans out is, for example, if there is a web application which has a login page. So first what you will do is you will look for the technologies that it is using. For example, if it is using if you know that it is using some node.js libraries. So one aspect of the technology that it is using is confirmed, right? It is using node.js or php or something like that. So you get an understanding. So when we talk about development, right, you have heard about merge stack, right? Yeah. So when we talk about that, so when you do have a comprehensive methodology, you do understand when we talk about node.js, some the other associated tools or the framework the web application might imply is MongoDB, JS, and other things, right? So this will come with time. You will have to really do a lot of pen test, or as do assessments of various applications to get an understanding of what might be the other potential components that the application implies once you get a bit of clue. So basically what you try to do is you try to figure out the mind map for the potential frameworks or the uh, components that the application uses during a reconnaissance phase. Yeah. So once you do that, you will do a bit of scanning. That what you could do is you could just manually do search for throughout the functionalities of the web application, or just do a passive and active scan using a burp suite or other tools. So that is the scanning phase. Or you could just try to directory brute force, try to access directories that you should not be access to have access to, that is. So yeah, the next in the next phase what you could do is you could just that is the vulnerability assessment phase. So once you do that, do the scanning and all, if there is a potential you see that the application might be vulnerable to SQL injection, for example, you will just test for the basic test cases that relates with SQL injection, that is Boolean based injection. So there are different types of SQL injection, right? You will test for each and every test cases. Once you do that, you confirm the type of vulnerability or the type of SQL injection it is. What you will do is in the exploitation phase, you will try to exploit that. Uh, Carry out the entire exploitation and to get a successful impact for that particular vulnerability. So even though there might be some vulnerability, right, so it might not be that impactful for that particular client. So what you have to do is you have to show that that particular or try to exploit perform the exploitation to get a higher impact vulnerability, right? So it should be of higher importance. So that is, so basically once you do your entire exploitation phase, you will be creating an entire report about how you initially identified the vulnerability, how did you exploit that particular vulnerability, and what are the mitigations that the uh, client should follow to uh, completely remove that particular vulnerability from their application, that is. So that was just a pen test methodology. Yeah. So here what we will be discussing is about web application pen testing and how you should start learning. So over here, what I have done is basically I have build the slides according to beginners, for complete beginners who do not understand the concepts of cybersecurity or networking concepts and all. So yeah, so when we are just starting out in the field of cybersecurity, the most important thing is to cover the basics, right? So first, what you should do is you should just understand the cybersecurity terminologies. For example, what is a white hat hacker, what is a gray hat hacker, what are the types of malwares, or what are the different terminologies, like what is vulnerability, what is risk, what is impact of particular vulnerability. So that sort of terminologies you should have a good understanding of when we do. So you should with that you will have a strong base and you can build on top of that, right? And the next things that you could learn is networking concepts, like what is a protocol, what are networking devices, and how do they communicate with each other. Yeah. And next thing, what you could learn is what are the cyber threats that are really common, like phishing, MITM attacks, and other things as well. So what you could also look for the threats that are currently going on, that are relevant in today's time. You could also learn about the basic tools like Metasploit, Burp Suite, and rest, right? So you should have a basic understanding of each and every tools, and how does this particular tool, how do we use these tools in our day-to-day basis, right? We could also include Nessus, Nmap, and other things, right? So yeah, with this you will have a good understanding of the basic concepts of cybersecurity, and then you can move on to the next step, that is how web application works. So if you are trying to learn web application security, this is one of the key components which I was talking about, the how the web application interacts with each other, right? So when we talk about how web application works. So the key things that you should learn are how does your like browser interact with the server side, and how does DNS resolution work, how does your web application server processes your request that it has received, and how does the backend logic execution work and all, and how does it communicate with different types of components of a particular web application. When you get a good understanding of these things, you will have a good methodology to to identify vulnerabilities. For example, in my initial days, what I used to do is whenever I used to see some sort of dynamic change, I used to just think that there might be an SQL injection. Yeah, but it might be that the web application is configured in such a way that when you search for a particular thing, it does have a list of uh, a list of data which is represented in the client side itself, and using the JavaScript it is trying to uh, load the information which you search for, right? That might be the case, but you should have a good understanding of the how that particular application works, to understand to look for vulnerabilities uh, that might be present in that particular application. So it will not waste your time once you understand the components and how the web application interacts with different components. You will be really it will be really easy for you guys to look for vulnerabilities, that is. Yeah. So when we talk about web applications, the common vulnerabilities that typically arise in web applications is broken access control, cryptographic failures, injection related vulnerabilities, and insecure design. So these are the top four vulnerabilities in the OS top 10. So when we talk about broken access control is when there is no good access control in place for a particular web application. For example, if you have created a web application and it has an admin user and a standard user. So standard users should not be able to view or do things that the admin users uh, should, right? So you should have role based access control, basically defining access to your functionalities, API endpoints, and each and everything based on the role, right? Role of that particular user when on that in context to that particular application. The next, what we the is cryptographic failures. So cryptographic failure is when the application is not able to yeah, the application is not able to secure its transmission of the data that it has been sent. For example, if for example if the application stores the data password in the form of clear text, right? So once the database is compromised, the attackers or the malicious users will get access to their credentials, right? The entire username and password combination. So that should not be possible. So your application should process the input given by the users in such a way that it stores in a secure manner, not its design should be really good, right? It should have a thought process of security when we design that particular application. Yeah. So the next vulnerability is the injection-based vulnerability. This is one of the most common types of vulnerability that typically occurs. So SQL injection, no SQL injection, command injection. I haven't seen many of the command injection in today's application, but I have found many SQL injection and no SQL injections in applications. And this is one of the most severe vulnerabilities, right? Because it will lead to account takeovers and other sort of high privilege vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities comes under high category vulnerabilities, right? So the next vulnerability that we are going to be talking about is the insecure design. So when your application is fundamentally designed in an insecure way is what this particular vulnerability signifies. For example, I once tested for an application which had a it was a loan granting or one user will propose a loan that he desires, and there will be three approvers who will assign this particular thing, right? The application should go through three particular approvers. So did not find any sort of vulnerabilities like broken access control, cryptographic failures, or injection based vulnerabilities. This particular application was totally secure. but it did have some sort of vulnerability in their design. So how did I exploit that? So when we talk about the approvals, right? So the application, I initiated an application to like grant me a loan of 1 lakh rupees, for example, and the approver one approves that according to the documents I have provided, and the approver two also approves that. Three after three, the approver three also approves that. So once it goes through three approvers, it will the loan will be sanctioned, right? So this was the application, and I got approval from all the three, right? So when after the completion of the approval, I was able to change the amount of the loan which I asked them, right? So initially I asked them for 1 lakh, and after the three times approval got over, what I did was I just changed my amount or updated the amount to 1 crore, right? So that is really harmful for that particular business, right? Because if a single user does this is a completely fraud, right? Because if a user does like ask for 10,000 rupees of loan and he is granted permission for that, and he is able to tamper the loan amount to some something like 1 crore, 2 crore or something like that. So there is no restriction for that, right? So they may be able to commit fraud and exploit that particular vulnerability to gain some sort of access, right? So yeah, that was one of the business logic flaws which I identified in the web application when I was testing for that. So these are some of the common web application vulnerabilities. So yeah, if you do not know about OS Top 10, so OS Top 10 is a open source project. It was designed to um, list down top 10 vulnerabilities based on the severity, impact, and frequency that they appear on the web application. So the top OS top 10s are broken access control, cryptographic failures, injection, insecure design, security misconfiguration, vulnerable and outdated components, identification and authentication failures, and data integrity failures, and security logging and monitoring failures. So yeah, so once you do get an understanding of the basic concepts as well as the basic vulnerabilities, what you could do is you could get hands-on. So I have seen each and every one going to the bug bounty platforms with an intention to get a bounty, right? So what you could just change about that particular mentality is just to get hands-on on applications. You could just go to the bug bounty platform and try to find a particular vulnerability, uh, and just trying to submit a comprehensive report about that particular vulnerability. You will get to test on the relevant stack of stack of frameworks or in current that is used in current web applications without any consequences, right? Instead of just going on and like hacking into any of the web application that they find on the internet, right? So you should just go when you go to do a bug bounty, don't just go with a mentality of just finding a bounty. Just go with a mentality to understand and learn how the web application security works, right? So the next like avenue in which you could practice or get hands-on when we talk about web applications is CVE hunting. So there is a lot of open source applications that are available on GitHub or other open source platforms, that you could just host it on your local system and try and exploit that, right? If it provides a web application interface, you could just try and find same sort of vulnerabilities like XSS, SQL injection, no SQL injection, or other logic based vulnerabilities in that particular applications to get a really great hands on, and it will not be it will be totally ethical, right? So once you do get hands-on on if you want some other like things to practice on, you could also look for vulnerable applications that are freely available on GitHub. So they deliberately create a vulnerable application, that is DVWA, juice I think the application's name was something OS do shop, yeah. And there are some other web application softwares that are intentionally made vulnerable so that you could practice on. Yeah. So the next things that you could do is to attend CTFs and to learn from that, right? Yeah. So once you do have a comprehensive understanding of the vulnerabilities, you have got hands on. The next thing what you could do is you could research for vulnerabilities and its mitigation. You could create your own applications and replicate that particular vulnerabilities and patch them. So this particular line that you could just create your own application and replicate the vulnerabilities and patch them is really useful. So when we talk about making the developers understand what vulnerabilities they have in their applications and how they can remediate them, it is really it will be really helpful for you guys to do this. So once you do this, it will be really easy for you to understand how each of the component works and how you should initiate a patch for like completely getting rid of about for that vulnerability, that is. The next point is to follow industry experts, study their methodology, and learn from their experience. So what this will do is they will have a comprehensive approach towards testing of web applications, right? So once you start to follow them, start implementing their methodology in yours, try to consume educational content from of YouTube or blogs and other resources, and try to educate yourselves so that you develop your own comprehensive methodology. So once you get hands on, and you will be able to once you create your own applications and replicate that vulnerabilities, follow industry experts and follow their methodology, and consume content on regular basis, you will be able to develop a really good methodology when we talk about web application pen testing. Yeah. So the next skill set that we are going to be talking about is API pen testing. So when we talk about API pen testing, APIs are really the backbone of a particular application, right? Of applications throughout the world, right? Because APIs serve a lot of things when we talk about application security in general, right? Because APIs really run the world. It does a lot of things when we talk about for an application, that is. So for those guys who do not understand what APIs are or do not know what APIs are, so APIs are basically uh, uh, what we can say, an application that or a interface that will help you connect with other applications, or you could just use that particular API to integrate into your application and to perform a particular action. For example, if I have created a web application and if I want to know what is the weather today, right, in my application, I will not write about 1,000 lines of code just to uh, like just to have a database and call the data from my server to provide them with the weather details, right? So what you could do is there will be publicly available APIs or commercial APIs. You could just integrate that with your application. So what this will do is this will reduce your cost when we talk about your infrastructure cost and all, and it will be really easy to use, right? So if you do want to use that in some other application, you could just call that particular API to serve as a base, right, to get the information, that is. So when we talk about API pen testing, there is three main APIs that we typically do pen test on. So the first one is the REST, that is widely used in our current applications. GraphQL is fairly new, and SOAP based API. So each and every API like the REST, SOAP, and GraphQL are different. When we talk about the query structure, understanding how these particular APIs work is different, right? So testing for the when we do a test for these particular applications, it is really different when we talk about the tool sets and all, but the methodology remains the same, right? uh, yeah, apart from a few things, then entire methodology stands the same. That is the reconnaissance, gathering the scanning, vulnerability assessment, performing an exploitation, and finally delivering a report. That particular methodology stays the same, even though the tool sets and the vulnerabilities that you are looking for might be different for each and every API. So the common vulnerabilities that are found in APIs are broken object level authorization, unrestricted access to sensitive business flows, improper inventory management. So basically, when we talk about object level authorizations, the authorizations or the access control on that particular on objects of that particular API are not approved in a proper way, right? So that is broken object level authorization. For example, if there is an application, right, and it contains a lot of details. So uh, for example, a banking application. So a banking application has access to a lot of profiles, right, or lot of customers of that particular of that particular bank, right? So if I am able to just change a single ID or a single parameter to get access to some other users data, that is, so that is what we mean by object level broken object level authorization, when you are able to get an read write or execute access to the object, that is, so other user, that is, when we talk about in simple terms. Yeah, so unrestricted access to sensitive business flows. So sometimes what happens is, when we talk about business flows, just like I said, when so if there is a intended design flow in your application, so for example, the example I mentioned previously, the banking application, in which the business flow or the business flow was compromised by me, right? So the application should be went through three different approvers, right? So the approver one, so first I will initiate an application, approver one will accept that, then two will accept, and then the third approver will accept, right? So when the users are able to query the next or not go through the entire business flow, but have access to that. For example, if that particular user initiated the loan, right, loan request, and the even though the first and second approvers did not approve for that, the third approver just approves, and the loan is sanctioned. So that will be a business flaw, right? Because if the application has not went through the entire business flow and it has been sanctioned, it is a vulnerability, right? So that is one of the vulnerabilities that we typically see in APIs. And the next one is improper inventory management. So when we talk about inventory management, this is highly the case. APIs are really vulnerable to this particular vulnerability. The frequency of finding this vulnerability is really high. So improper inventory management, what this encompasses is basically uh, APIs are not managed in a proper way. For example, if an API is created, right, and some sort of vulnerability is there in that particular API endpoint, and so that for so to solve that, the developers, what they do is they create a new API endpoint, and what they do is they do not mention this particular API endpoint and just call the second API endpoint, which is secure, right? So they typically do that by versioning. So for example, if an API endpoint is slash API v1 users, okay, so that is an API. What your developers do is they try create a new version of that particular API and name it as API slash v2 and the users. So what they and implement a secure coding practice over there, right? So when we test APIs, we typically come across that when we downgrade a particular version or we attack a particular version that exists within the application source code, so the developers might forget about that the code is still not commented out or removed from the source code. What they do is you just create a new endpoint and try and access the a new endpoint that they created from the client side, right? So this is one of the vulnerabilities that typically happens. So whenever the versioning is not maintained in a proper way, you are able to get like perform the previous vulnerability that that particular API endpoint already had. So if you do want to look for some of the other common vulnerabilities, you could reference the OS top 10 of APIs. that contains broken object level authorization, authentication, broken object property level authorization, unrestricted resource consumption, broken function level authorization, and more. Yeah. So yeah, once you now do have an understanding of how web applications and APIs work, uh, to get hands on, you could just look for these particular resources, that is Hack the Boss, Sportsfigure, Try Hack Me. And Pentester Labs is really great when we talk about white box testing for that particular applications, right? So whenever you are trying to learn about white box pen testing, Hack the Box and Pentester Labs are a really great source for that. So once you so what are the next steps? So when I talk about your entire application security career, so the I categorize them into three people, right? Three types of people. So the initial ones are the like beginners, intermediates, and the advanced. So what separates each of them, right? So beginners, for them, they do understand what a vulnerability is. They are able to perform basic exploitation. For example, they are able to craft um, a XSS payload, that is script alert one script. So they are able to perform that, but they do not understand the integration of each and every component within the application. They do not know what is the difference between DOM based reflect and reflected based XSS, and how these are, and why are they different from each other, right? So those are the people, like they are total beginners. They have an understanding of the vulnerabilities, and they have an understanding of the vulnerabilities, that is. So the next people, once you do develop a good understanding of the vulnerabilities, and then you have a good methodology to back it up, so then you will have a intermediary phase in which you will you will understand how the web application interacts with different components of the application, and more, right? So that is the intermediary phase in which you are able to craft a bit of advanced attacks. You are able to chain some vulnerabilities to get an exploitation. um, yeah. So the next phase, which you should learn, is the next steps what we are going to be discussing. So the next what you could do is, after you are like you do understand about chain a bit about chaining vulnerabilities, and you have a comprehensive understanding about the application, you could learn the most important thing, that is reporting. Enhance your skill sets on that. You could learn how different vulnerabilities are changed together, what sort of vulnerabilities can be chained with each other to get an exploitation, right? So if I ask if there is any intermediate people over here, so why should we chain XSS and CSRF to perform an advanced attack, right, in a particular scenario? So why can't we just do an XSS attack, right? So when you do get an understanding about the components and how applications work, you will get an answer to this particular question which I asked. Why not just perform an XSS attack and uh, get your exploitation? Why should you chain XSS and CSRF and other vulnerabilities, that is? So yeah. So once you do that, once you start understanding chaining vulnerabilities, what you could look for is how start understanding WAF, that is how web application firewall is configured, and how what are the bypasses that you could do when we talk about XSS or other payload that we use, that is. Once you complete that, you could look for white box approach. You could learn about source code review, and get a better understanding about the white box aspect of vulnerabilities that you could find to have a complete approach when we are talking about application security. Yeah. You could also learn about the new technologies and the framework that are continuously brought into the market, right? So the new technologies like LLM. So when we talk about the new web applications, sorry, the applications in current day and age, so there are a lot of chatbots being integrated with the normal web applications to make the like customers experience a bit better, right? There are AI chatbots, and how do we particularly attack that particular vulnerability, sorry, or that particular technologies? If you do have a good methodology for that, or you develop for that, then you will be better than most of the people in the current market, right? So this is how you put your best foot forward when it comes to like getting a job, right? Just understanding, like not just performing basic exploitation, just copying and pasting the payloads from the GitHub or other repos. You could just understand the basic methodologies, the methodologies and the vulnerabilities in detail and perform the exploitation like that. Once you do that, you could also start learning how to create your custom tool to attack that comprehends your own methodology, pen test methodology, and learn from that custom toolkit development will really enhance your skill sets when we talk about application pen testing. And the next thing is continuous learning and real world experience. So I will just hand over the next part of our webinar to Atharva. Okay, one second.
Do we have question answer session?
Hello. Yes, Pramod. We will be having a question answer session once we have completed this. But right now, I will be having an interactive session as well. So there might be some questions from my side as well. I'll be asking. So let's see how it goes. So
Sure.
first of all, I
Thank you.
will like to thank Nandini and Joseph for the introduction part, and the ones who have been introduced me. Thank you so much. It was a great introduction. So myself, Atharva Nanche, and I'm another security consultant at RedFox Security. So small intro about what we actually do in RedFox Security. It's just the all cool hacker stuff, all ethically. So you can just check out our YouTube channel as well. There are a lot of great contents out there. Not being as a Red Fox member, but even the person who have been recommended these channels, they're like okay, bhai, this is a great content out there, and that is all about free content. So you need to check out that
Okay.
and make sure that you will like it, and I promise you will like it. So let's go ahead with our session that is about the mobile penetration testing. So before getting into mobile pen testing, this is one of the what you can say, not the initial stage topics when if you are going for an interview as a fresher. So I don't think so. Mobile pen testing will be the one thing which all the interviewers going to ask. But yes, once you get into an infrastructure, then there is a lot of mobile pen testing you need to do. So this is also booming right now, and that's the reason why it is more important. And there are a lot of vulnerabilities which are recently arising in mobile applications. So whenever I talk about mobile pen testing, there is a simple question a lot of people ask me that, yeah, see, if I am uploading my data on web or it's online, I can understand that it's insecure. It's like, okay, it's on web. If someone got an unauthorized access to that data, and yeah, my credentials are leaked. But what about my mobile data? It's in my gallery itself. It's all in my mobile device. So how an attacker can get an like access to that? It is not possible. They need to go through my biometric, or they need to swipe in my pins, and then only after that they will get the access. So that's not the case. That's not the honest case. So before getting forward with the mobile pen testing part, we need to understand the cyber criminals mindset, that how they actually attack you, or how you might be into a what you can say phishing kind of thing. So first we need to understand the cyber criminal mindset. So let's suppose take any example of big e-commerce applications out there. Take Amazon, Flipkart, or anything. So I don't know how many of you have noted this thing, that whenever they announce some features out there, there is always someone out there like, okay, fine, they announce as a feature. Now we are going with they announced a feature. So now let's do something. Let's announce a free coupon or free buying things like that on a similar website. So what cyber criminals do, let's suppose Amazon or Flipkart have announced some new features. They will install that application. They will do a complete information gathering, understand all the attack scenarios, what can be there. They will do a proper vulnerability analysis of that device, of that particular application itself, and check for the zero-day exploits if there are any. So can anyone in the comment section tell me what is exactly a zero-day exploit? It can be anyone out there. I just want to check if there are people interactive or not. Or you can just unmute
It's
yourself and
the exploit which is not yet reported by anybody, and it is a first time that is being found or
okay.
available for open understanding.
Yeah. Great, Pramod. Yeah, this is the exact thing actually. Means the zero-day exploits is like not everyone has reported it. But we can also say that there is no patch available for that particular exploit till now. Like there can be someone who has already reported, but yeah, the developers haven't patched it till now and it is still open. So the cyber criminals, or you can say the hackers out there, black hat people, they try to find such vulnerabilities, and once they get these vulnerabilities, they try to create a custom malware, or you can say a spyware. They make the what you can say, they develop a custom spyware which specifically targets these vulnerabilities. The malware designed to bypass antivirus and security tools by using obfuscation techniques. So basically, they will develop a malware in which they will check if these vulnerabilities are not patched, and they will make sure that these vulnerabilities are exploited once this malware is installed on any device. And once they have completed with the custom, what you can say, creating a custom malware, how they deliver this malware to a victim by performing a social engineering attack. Yes, obvious a social engineering attack. They do a phishing, or they like anything. You can call a smishing, which I have seen in recent days. A lot of smishing which is happening in mobile devices. You just click on a link, and yes, you download something, but at that moment it won't happen anything, but later you understand that there is something fishy in your devices which is going on. So once you have clicked on such links, or you have visited such some sites, so what this malware will do, it will establish a backdoor itself in your device, and that particular malware will have a persistence on your device. Now what I mean by persistence, even though if you feel that you have removed this application or removed this malware itself, there will be some other application which this malware will be linked to. So that is a persistence. You can't remove it completely. And the last, that is the data exfiltration part. The malware will do its job. It will exfiltrate the data. So this is one of the mindsets what cyber criminals think. They used to think. But I know we have a lot of clever audience which won't click on links, and they won't download such kind of malware. But still, there are some of the malwares which do not require a click. Let me ask you a simple a question. In recent days, there was a malware which got so famous. Anyone heard about Pegasus spyware? Is there anyone out there? Don't worry, I won't ask you to explain anything. But yes, did you heard about
Yeah,
Pegasus spyware? Yes. So yeah. So
Yes, it's on the phone. Yeah.
yes, Pramod, what? Can you pardon?
So it's a call. If we just answer, or if we don't answer, also if we disconnect, also
Yeah.
it used to hack the device.
So exactly what happens. So Pegasus spyware is a spyware which was developed by Israel. So it was an organization, I guess it's NSO, that was an organization. So the main reason for building this spyware, or what they have given us, like to track all the terrorism activities which might be happening in the country. So might be there are a lot of countries out there have booked such spyware to uh, spread over to the politicians or different business people, for just to see if there are any kind of terrorism activities going on or not. So this was one of the just example about spyware. And what exactly spyware used to do, it is a zero click exploit. So what is zero click? I am going to say, like, you don't require a link at all. It's not going to come at your mail and say, oh yeah, you got a there is a bumper offer, click on this link and you are going to get something out of it. It's not like that. There can be anything in your official applications as well, which might be embedded, and then it is transferred to your device itself. So once you have installed it, it doesn't require any kind of click. It's completely into your application, and once it is, it will check with all your logs, what you can say, call logs, what kind of data you are transferring, what kind of photos you have. Are there something hidden photos which you might have in your devices itself? So Pegasus spyware is just one of the examples out there which I have told you. There are a lot of ones which are more dangerous than that. So that's the reason why mobile penetration testing is also required. So right now, as you can see my screen, right? So from the chain itself, the information gathering, vulnerability analysis, then creating a malware, social engineering, establishing backdoor, and then data exfiltration. What do you think? Where does penetration testers work? What was the exact goal of pen testers? Anyone? Okay, no worries. So actually, the
To
pen
gather
testers,
information and vulnerability analysis.
exactly. You're right, Rohan. So the vulnerability analysis part is one of the things which we will work on, and obviously on the information gathering, which everyone's do. The vulnerability analysis to find if there are any vulnerabilities in your application and make sure that those are closed. Means though if we have open points regarding those applications, then we make sure that the developers do close it. Once we have closed this part, then there is no point of getting a custom malware and developing a social engineering attack and everything. So we just work on these two things, and these are all about the black hat people. So as we have understand the cyber criminal mindset and what everything, so whenever I used to discuss about these things, people say, okay, fine, okay, I understood. It is also not secure having data on your device itself. So what to do? So what is most secure right now? Uh, Android versus iOS, which will be the most secure one? So the thing is, whenever someone asks me like which is more secure, I am saying none. Like actually, the iOS has a plus point about the security features, but yeah, this iOS applications do have some vulnerabilities, and if they are not properly patched, then yes, they can be also triggered by any spyware. And the Pegasus spyware, uh, the most secure device is having no device. This was a great one. But this is a digital world, Paul. This is a digital world. So I feel that you need to have devices, or I don't know how it's going to work. So, so the iOS applications, as I was telling about, yeah, people find it more secure. But yes, there are some vulnerabilities out there in iOS applications as well. And what kind of vulnerabilities are there and how they can be exploited, I will tell you that as well. But before understanding what is more secure, we need to understand the architecture itself. So how these applications are built. Let's suppose I have installed an application APK file on Android device, IPA file on iOS device. So after installation, how that application processes and how it is isolated from our device, our means our personal data. So for that, we need to understand the architecture. And one more thing I will ask you later. So let's go ahead with the architecture part. Yes, this is my exact face. So let's move on with the Android architecture part. So there are 5 layers in it, and then Android architecture. The very first one is application, then goes with the application framework, then the runtime, uh, platform libraries, and the Linux kernel. So yes, the Android application works on the Linux kernel, and I will explain each and every architecture, means the layers one by one. So the first one, the very first one is the application layer, which is the top layer of Android architecture. Any application which is pre-installed, let's suppose contacts, your camera, gallery, or any third-party application as well, which you install from Play Store or Telegram or anywhere from the devices, that application gets installed within the application layer itself. Now it completely works on the application layer. Whatever you're trying to communicate, like says you opened the application, you started surfing the application, you clicked on buttons, you just gone through a walkthrough of that application. What is the functionality? So that all things will be covered in the application layer itself. Then comes the application framework layer. So this is one of the interesting layers when it comes for the pen testing part. And yes, I will explain this later. This I will keep it for later. And yes, I will cover this. Yes. So application framework, it provides several important classes which are used to create Android application. It includes different types of service, activity manager, notification manager, view system, package manager, content providers, and also some of the receivers. So why this layer is important for pen testing? There are some of the services which I have already listed, such as content providers and broadcast receivers. So what role they play in an application framework, I will be explaining in a couple of slides. So this is all about the framework part, where the system package managers and everything has been working, where your all data have been stored. Then the third part, which is what you can say the important component of the Android architecture, that is the application runtime. Like you have installed it, you have installed the application. Now, if it is not running only, then it's like no, it's not worth it. Like what can I do with the application? So it contains like core libraries like DVM, Dalvik Virtual Machine. It is similar to the JVM, that is the Java Virtual Machine. The main thing over the DVM or JVM is to see if there are multiple instances of your application. Or multiple applications are running on your what you can say on your particular device. You can just click. You are not like that. Only one application is running on your device. There are multiple applications simultaneously running on your device, which you can check in the recent tab and everything. So DVM and JVM helps you to do that. And obviously there are some core libraries as well which implement Android application using the standard Java and Kotlin programming language. So most of our Android devices or all of our Android devices are built on Java Kotlin programming language. So this they have a libraries as well which can give you some functionalities for your what you can say processing the application. Then goes with the platform libraries. Now you have an application. So what if your application doesn't have a DB itself? Means there is no database itself. So that's not going to work. So platform libraries are the ones C core libraries that provides you with the data which you can upload or which you have stored for it. So media, SQLite, Surface Manager, SSL is some of the what you can say components of platform libraries. So about the SQLite, so you will understand that it is a DB. And about the media, yeah, you're going to upload images and everything from that. Then it is going about the media. So what is SSL part? So SSL has a importance when you are installed an application. So it makes sure that your application is working on a secure layer. So can you anyone tell me a difference between HTTP and HTTPS? Is it as simple as that? So what SSL is working for? Okay, secure. So what exactly SSL? HTTP is secured. Yeah. So how HTTP is secured? What it does? Let's do kind of something. TLS SSL, fine. Yeah, shut up. Sorry, encryption. So
It
yes,
encrypts it.
yes. You are right. It was encryption. The SSL provides you an encryption layer, which makes sure that all the data which is getting transmitted is into the encrypted format and not into the plain text. So yes, everyone who is answering, I am actually happy that everyone is attentive till now. That's a great thing. So then we move towards the Linux kernel. That is, it manages about the drivers, say about your main system itself, about the Bluetooth, audio drivers, memory, and everything that is your complete device itself. The Linux kernel will work upon that, which is also required in your runtime. So so there is some security when it comes about the Linux kernel, and the security part also I am going to cover later. So let's move ahead with another architecture, that is the iOS architecture. So iOS architecture, as Android architecture had 5 layers, the iOS architecture has also layers. So first one is Cocoa Touch, then another one is the media layer, then the core services and the core OS layer. So what is a Cocoa Touch? So this layer includes as simple in other language like we did in the application. We have installed it. Everything which is in pre-installed and has a what you can say UI based has a user interface. It also helps you to what you can say touch based interaction and enabling apps to respond user inputs like taps and swipes. So it does the similar things as what it does in the application for the Android. So it is similar as that. Then comes the media layer. So from the media itself, we would have understood that we would be talking about something called as graphics. So yes, it consists of different frameworks like core animation, audio, video, and high performance graphics. So whenever you click something, you are recording a video. So everything comes under the media layer. Then there are last two layers, that is the core service layer and core OS layer. The similarity between the core service layer and the application framework is that they both work on IPC. Now, what is IPC? That is an inter-process communication. Um, Whenever I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen something like there are you have installed an application, it asked you to put your number or your number itself, and later you get a message, an OTP, and it is auto you can that application has auto read that OTP and it is like pasted it itself. Do you ever seen like something like that? I I feel that yes, yeah. So in these cases, core service layer and application framework layer works. So whatever your application is having conversation, so they're having a inter-process communication. So the message part is your main system application, whereas the other application is the third-party application which you downloaded from Play Store or App Store. So it is communicating with it using over the core service layer, or in the Android it is application framework. And in the last is core OS layer, in which the foundation of iOS managing hardware resources, memory, networking, connectivity, and security. Everything regarding the last layer for the Android, that was the Linux kernel, comes over here. As the Android works on the Linux kernel, the iOS architecture works on the Unix kernel. So from till now, what we have understood that the how if an application is installed on a device, how these architectures will be helpful for us to make that application stable in our environment. But it doesn't talk about any kind of security. So the major part of security in any device in Android or iOS only works on this. Can anyone tell me what is sandboxing or sandboxing environment? This is just a meme. So anyone out there? Isolated environment, yeah, and enclosed environment for each APK. Okay, great. Device under device. Yeah, I have a lot of clever audience out there, man. Literally isolating testing done under controlled environment. Yes, great, great, closed, safe environment. Yes, yes. So everyone over here is right. So first of all, sandboxing environment, you can call it in an infrastructure or in an devices. It's kind of similar. The only thing is, in infrastructure, we are isolating a particular environment or a network from the other environment. Let's suppose you have an office, that's a complete intranet. Okay. So down there, there are some, no down there, up there are some developers who are working, who are building applications. So once the applications need to get on production environment, which they need to get live. So before that, they need to have a test that if these applications are perfect or not, and if they are having vulnerability. So they have no idea if this application have vulnerability or not. So they can't put it on UAT as it can be also live. So they put it on a what you can say sandboxing environment where we can perform a static analysis, doing a source code review of the complete code itself, and then asking them that, okay, now this is good, now there are no vulnerabilities in it, you can go push to the production environment. So this is how it works in what you can say infrastructure. But when it comes a question about how it works in a Android or iOS device, mobile devices. So in Android device, particular sandboxing for Android, there are some features which are similar for both. That is process isolation. A lot of people have told that. Then there is inter-app communication, which is the IPC, which I was talking about, inter-process communication. Now I will talk about the vulnerability itself, what we are going to trigger. Then there is a file system access, external storage, code execution, app review, and permission model. So these are some of the features which we can see in both of sandboxing in Android as well as sandboxing in iOS. So what is the process isolation? As I said, the Linux have some security feature when it comes in what you can say processing an Android application. So how it processes? Whenever you install an APK on a Android device, it creates its own user ID, UID, and it makes sure that all the Linux process, everything of that particular application will only run in that UID itself. And the UID is nothing but the unique identifier of that particular application. So it makes sure it only runs within that UID, and even though if the application wants to communicate to other applications, they need to have some permissions. Even after that, only after that, they will be able to communicate with the other applications, or no, you need to be in your environment itself. Then comes the most, which I was talking about, the inter-process communication part. So as I said earlier, that the content providers itself. Let's suppose I'll give you an example of content providers. What I mean by here. So when you install WhatsApp application for the first time, that you have seen this thing, right? That you open your WhatsApp application, and then suddenly WhatsApp asked you that, can I access your contacts? And you might have simply said yeah, allow, or you would have disallowed. So the ones who have allowed it, afterwards there might be WhatsApp have given you a notification, or have given you over there itself, that invite your friends. Have anyone seen this happening in your WhatsApp applications? So
Yes.
yes, yes. So what is happening in this? The content providers. So I'll just explain you. The when you give permission, when you allow, when you install the WhatsApp application and allow them to check with your all contact list, the application goes with the what you can say Android content providers for contacts, and that is the name, Android content providers for contact, and they will check with the contact providers of your phone application, which is the pre-installed application on your device, and it will check with the complete list and make sure, and that application, what it will do, it will link the contacts in its own DB itself, and that it do with the content providers. When it comes with the question of when you are referring your contacts with your database, so there is a vulnerability which might be striking your head when it comes a question like DB. So is there someone like I am talking about database right now? So the very famous vulnerability could be the SQL injection, which can we be targeting right now. So once the application allow it, you will get an invite, like invite your friends. It will check with the DB of the application, check yes, the user exists. Let him share with the message saying invite your friend. And once you do that, yeah, your process is completed. But what if an attacker is sitting down there sniffing your all contents? He is saying that the WhatsApp is checking in his DB access that there are some users in the contact list which are trying to what you can say is present in the contact list. So that simply gives you the complete list of your contact details. So this is one of the crucial vulnerabilities. We also called it as means receivers intent sniffing, or what you can say it is a simple like intent sniffing itself, we can call it. Then comes with the question like file system access. when you are into a sandbox environment, your particular application has its own package name, and it is running on a what you can say, an isolated environment. So only that application can communicate with its own package name, not others. Only that particular application can communicate. So this is how they restrict it. Then comes the external storage, which is your what you can say, your own personal data, your gallery images, or what you can say, whatever your sensitive information which is stored in your device itself. Then there are last three things, that is the code execution part. The code execution is basically when anything like you are trying to communicate in an application. So backend, there is a code which is getting executed in an Android device. So how it is isolated from other applications and not messing it with other user ID, this is taken care in this sandbox environment. Then there are last two, that is application signing and permission model. So the permission model is simple. Whenever you are doing something which is not pretend to be in the sandbox environment, you need to have a permission. The application will down say, okay, give me access for your location, give me access for something like that. So only after that you will be able to what you can say, access those resources. And the another thing was that application review and signing. So whenever developers develop a Android application, are there anyone who have developed Android applications here? Android or iOS IP applications, anyone? So did you? Yes, yes. So have you ever at the end, did you sign the applications when you have completed it? So most of the time when you have done with the Android part, when you have done with the developing part, when it is going on the production side, as I said, the SSL part, when about the secure layer, you need to sign the application, making sure that only this signing will be required when your application is decompiled or tested. So this is the process of sandboxing environment. And similarly, it goes with the iOS applications, that are no more changes, inter-process communication, process isolation. The only thing is it's more what you can say, restricted. There are more restrictions in iOS environment rather than in the Android. The permission model and the inter-process communication doesn't work with the content providers or the broadcast receivers, but it goes with the XPC, that is the external process communication and URL schemes. So URL schemes is nothing, it is similar to the content providers, but it access the DB via URL basis. So this is how the URL schemes work. Then goes with the file system access, external storage, code execution, app reviewing, signing, and permission model. Everything is somewhat similar to the Android part with more restrictions itself. Um, but even though if you are having such a sandboxing environment and both in both Android and iOS, why testing is required? Because these are not completely secure itself. There might be some of the way which we can bypass these. So how we can test them? So there is very great way. You have heard about rooting an Android device or jailbroken iOS device. So if you have done this jailbroken or rooting a particular device, that completely remove this sandbox environment. Once you have jailbroken your iOS, there is nothing called as restrictions. So you can just work and test your application. So now we will move ahead with the pen testing methodology, which was the main agenda of us of the mobile pen testing. What we do as a pen testers and what is the more important part. So as a pen test and methodology, there are 6 phases. That is first application walkthrough, then goes with the jailbreaking and rooting, as I said. And I will explain why rooting and jailbreaking is required. I did it earlier, but I will explain in more elaborate way. Then comes with bypassing security features. Then the SAST, DAST, and reporting, which yes, my already colleague Joe did, but I will explain it again with the concept of the mobile application. So let's move ahead. What is application walkthrough? So yes, exactly this is what will happen if you are not taking a walkthrough of an application while testing. When you watch a walkthrough, you realize you are being playing the entire game wrong. So yes, that this happens. Let's suppose you are testing an application without walkthrough. You don't know what are the functionalities itself. Let me explain what exactly I mean by walkthrough. You install the application, you just ran through the whole application, each and every functionality thoroughly to understand what this application is built for, why we are using this application, to give complete overview of what is application. You need to coordinate with developers as well, that why you are giving such permissions, why this is required, and there should be a proper walkthrough itself. And obviously, if you don't have a walkthrough, this is the condition which will happen. I will remember some cases out there, when they have when I've seen people reporting in other organizations, people reporting the features as bugs. So there was a conflict between the security testers and the developers, like this is a feature and that this is the bug. So you have seen the Spider-Man meme, like this is the bug, this is the feature. That exactly happened if you don't have the exact walkthrough of that application. So this is one of the important things we should have. Then goes with the rooting and jailbreaking. Yeah. So why rooting an Android device or jailbreaking it's required? Like I have a sandbox environment, it is secure. So why should I root it and like make it more like insecure it? Why? So when you're pen testing an environment, it is required that you need a complete access of that particular device. And I'm not talking about the application, I'm talking about the Android or the iOS device. You need a complete access. The reason is, lot of times the application does not what you can say show what kind of data is storing or not. So most of the time there is an insecure way the application is storing data. For an example, as I told you here, in the file system access, the app stores data in data package name. So most of the time in this package name, there is another directory where a lot of sensitive files are kept. If an attacker got an access to it, there are a lot of what you can say plain text data will be there, or your all credentials out there. I'll give you a simple example what kind of data is stored over here. When you install the application gets over here, means the packages are all stored here. You can't just go and check it, you need to root your Android device, so you can do it afterwards, but be authorized. Second, it is installed on your device, you are surfing to it, you put your credentials, you got logged in, you ordered this order, that order, everything. So everything from your credentials to what you have done in the complete have been logged over here itself. So all the files will be saved here. So what if the attacker got access to this? What if you are a victim of a spyware and the attacker just got all the data from you? So this is the reason why you need to root the devices and check if there are some of the sensitive data which are what you can say stored in a plain text or non-professional format. Then there is the benefit of doing root. Yes, you get a super user access of the particular device, and the super user means yes, you are a complete developer of that complete device itself. You are able to download some of the files which you can use for testing. Most of the files out there require rooting or jailbreaking. For example, if can we undo rooting? Yes, it is possible, but I guess it's required a factory reset itself completely. So after that, it might be unrooted. I have seen somewhere out there that you can unroot it as well. But for that, you need to check with all the blogs and your content should be proper. You can find a lot of content on YouTube as well, how you can root a device. That's a huge procedure. So I won't be covering the rooting over here. But there are types as well, which makes routing easier. I don't know if you have heard about the tool called Magisk. I don't know if someone have heard about it. Then yeah, this is one of the tools which can be helpful for you to. Yes, that's good. Yes. So yes, for testing purposes, you can do it. It's an awesome thing uh, for testing an application and for security research things. Yes, you can just do it. Then there is about the jailbreaking part. Uh, Jailbreaking is also the kind of routing only. This in the iOS device. So there are types of jailbreaking. As a person, Shadab has asked a good question. Can we undo routing? So similarly, in the jailbreaking also we can do it. Why jailbreak when there is no CD? Okay, so jailbreak is not only about the CDR part. I understood what you are trying to say. Is it like why to do that when I can install applications directly rather than jailbreaking it? So most of the time, what happens? when you are jailbreaking your device itself. So there are a lot of the applications or tools, you can say, which needs to be installed on your device to perform a thorough testing of your what you can say iOS device. So on, if you are not jailbreaking it, then that won't be enough for the security testers to perform proper security testing. Yes, there are ways via without jailbreaking also you can test your application. Is your go-to place for managing repos when customizing your device, but for testing the security perspective, you don't really need CDR. Yes, exactly. But I what I have been CDR, or you can also, there is one of the thing what is called CLEO. Also, I have heard about. When once you have jailbroken a device, you can install different kinds of what you can say tools on your particular device itself. So that is required. Yes, as you question, your question was right. Why jailbreaking is required? If you don't want to jailbreak and you want to test, there is also a way we can jailbreak, but that's a little more complicated, and there are a lot of blogs. That's the reason why I'm asking you. RedFox security channel have lots of contents regarding mobile pen testing. Not only mobile pen testing, there are a lot of contents regarding any AppSec portions you need want to cover. You must check them out. And yes, jailbreaking, non-jailbreaking, everything is covered, and the all types of jailbreaking as well. How do you test applications on current iOS? Last jailbreak iOS was 16. So current applications also support 16. Yes, your questions is also amazing. We do test for the 16 part only. There are no, I haven't encountered any applications which is not supporting a 16 itself. They support iOS 16. So yes, it is helpful for us to test it. Then I can see a lot of clever minds in the chats. That's good. So once we have understood about the jailbreaking part, we can move ahead with bypassing security features. Now you will find it funny that first I need to jailbreak it, now I need to bypass it. This is actually funny. Like I have jailbreak the iOS device. Now I need to bypass this feature to test the application. So why it is required? So most of the IPA files or APK files won't allow rooting or jailbreaking devices. Means the applications won't be installed, or if they're installed, they won't work on these kind of devices. So at that moment, we need to bypass these security features. So the very first thing is about the rooting and jailbreaking detection bypass. Let me ask you a simple question. Ever heard about a tool called Frida? So a lot of people out there having a good mindset about pen testing of iOS, Android. Is there anyone out there ever heard about Frida tool? So no worries. So Frida is a tool which we use to bypass these kind of security features. Like yes, Roshan, good. You have heard about it. So bypassing security features for rooting or jailbreaking. As I said, the application, if it is installed in your device, it won't work properly if your application, if your device is jailbroken. So Frida or different tools are out there which helps us to bypass this flaw. We use a JavaScript code to what you can say to bypass this script, and to which we will the application start working properly. So I won't say this is a vulnerability itself. This is only a security feature what the developers have built in. Like they have built in a security features. If the device is jailbroken, I don't want my application to be installed over there. Or if it is installed, I don't want it to work. Simple as that. So that behavior we need to bypass. So that's the reason we use something called as Frida, or we can say there are many other tools as well which we use. For getting forward with the SSL pinning bypass. So from the SSL, you would have understood that it is about the secure socket layer, the HTTPS protocol. So the main reason why developers do what you can say built in this feature is because the dynamic testing or the application shouldn't intercept its traffic when the device is communicating with the server. So there are some web URLs or web communication which is happening. So most of the time, what you can say, I don't want these kind of communication to be intercepted. I want this to be private itself. I don't want my communication to be diverted somewhere else. So they implement something called as SSL pinning. So yes, we can bypass this as well using the Frida. That's an awesome tool. You can just check out, go on Frida code share, and there are a lot of scripts out there which will help you to test some of the dummy applications. And yes, I'll won't insist you to go and just sit on the bug bounty. That will be not that won't be worth it. So to have a great start, start with any kind of vulnerable application. There are a lot of vulnerable applications on site, that is DVA vulnerable applications. So go and test your skills out there. Those are just good. And the last one is emulator detection bypass. So in iOS device, I haven't found any kind of what you can say open source emulators, but for Android there are a lot. So once you have installed an Android device, what you can say Android application on an emulator, so a lot of developers don't want that to happen. They don't want it to be running on an emulator. It should be a proper Android device itself. So yes, they have a detection for that as well. But yes, this is also can be bypassed. Uh, then after bypassing all the security features, now comes for the testing phase. That is the static application security testing, SAST. You can also call it as SAST. So static application security testing is a process analyzing mobile application source code, binaries, and configuration files without executing the app. So everyone knows the SDLC process down there, how software development life cycle works. Means after the development phase, means after the designing phase, the designing, then it is gone to the developing, then it is gone to the testing part, and once it is tested properly, if there are some bugs, it will be reported to again to the developer or the designer part, then again to the process, and once the application has been proper, then it will be going to the UAT or production environment. So in this case, what I say, in such a case, like in the production environment, before going into the production environment or UAT environment, we do perform static application security testing. In this, we just go through all the source code of that complete file itself, understand is there any hard-coded vulnerabilities or hard-coded credentials which have been stored. Is there any weak coding practices, like the application is using some weak encryption or hashing algorithms like MD5, which is easily crackable, or the application input is properly validating or not, or that can be vulnerable to another cross-site scripting or injection attack. And the last, if you are working on a Android application, then yes, Android manifest.xml file. This is one of the most important file in Android device, which locates all the things which is going in your application. And in the iOS, that is info.plist file, which have a lot of secret or misconfigurations which are already embedded. So there is a lot of people ask that, do you find vulnerabilities in SAST? And yes, I do. I won't say anything, but I have found AWS credentials itself in some of the files early back. So yes, they have vulnerabilities, and you need to check out the static application testing as well. Can't neglect that; it's very important. Then after performing complete static analysis, we are moving to the dynamic part. So dynamic, as opposite to the static, we are testing the application on the runtime behavior. Once the application has tested on the pre-prod, or you can say sandbox environment, after that the application is going to the production environment or the UAT, and the UAT I will say, and the UAT for further testing. So once it is deployed on the UAT environment, we need to again perform the testing. It can be SAST and DAST both. So for dynamic, we need to make sure whenever I'm executing the application, it is not throwing any kind of vulnerabilities at me, and like everything is properly secure and no insecure communication itself. So the purpose of performing DAST, identify runtime vulnerabilities such as authentication flaws, the very well-known authentication flaws. If there is an application out there where which we have encountered early back, and the developer told that there is only one user out there, and we won't give you the credentials, and you need to test it, do a black box. So like, okay, fine, we were doing, and we just go on the application itself. So do you what do you think, what will you do once you get a login page and you don't have credentials? What will you check? Let me see just in the comment section down. You have a login page and you don't have any credentials. So what will you check? SQL injection, great. SQLi,
Just try to enter once.
SQL injection, user enumeration, great. Great, Sanchit. SQL default pass, yeah. So Rohan, yeah, you are great enough to understand that. Why I was laughing. Yes, they have some default credentials already. Like I just got to the application. I saw what framework they were using. I gone through some Google search and saw that this framework has a particular default credential. It was admin. Yeah, got the access. Don't share me the credentials. I have it. So this is what actually happens in real world as well, but this is not a proper way to do. You should make sure that the application's password security and everything is properly set. Brute forcing attack, SQL injection, GraphQL injection, rate limited. Yes, superb. Great answers coming from you guys. And I feel that this is a great interactive session. Thank you. Yes, after detecting the authentication flaw, then there is a session handling, insecure API communication, as my colleague Joseph did. The APIs are one of the important posture of application security, and the reason is whenever you are communicating, it is like a link to your DB or to your any other services. So API serves as a what you can say. You are on a restaurant, you ask for some food, though it comes to you and he provides you the food. So that's how the API works in the Android, iOS, or any applications out there. Then comes with the detect of insecure data storage. Yes, so this is one of the important ones which I already discussed, the data storage. If it is stored in the clear text and everything, yeah, boom, you get it. A lot of time I've seen people storing client side JavaScript. They have stored some of the credentials that I will use it later. I've seen these comment, I will use this later, and store the credentials in the clear text itself. So this is a bad practice which happens. I'm not mocking itself, but yeah, we find these kind of vulnerability also. Then goes with bypassing root, jailbreak detection, SSL pinning. So all the bypassing security features comes under DAST, that is dynamic application security testing. Whenever you are bypassing, you are actually running the application and then trying to bypass. So it comes into the runtime. Then last is like same, the API endpoints, which check for the IDOR, broken authentication, rate limiting, and everything. So this was all about the DAST and SAST, which how we test the application itself. Now this is one of the things which what a lot of people, and pen testing, I don't know how, but a lot of people don't like much about this, like that is reporting. You have hacked the system, you got a lot of vulnerabilities, you have encountered a lot of stuff, cool hacking stuff. Now it's time to explain that to the client. So yes, it is great. You need to do that because everything, whenever you are explaining that vulnerability, it is brushing up to you and you are understanding that vulnerability more deeper. So this is one of the most important part of penetration testers. You need to make sure that whatever you have enumerated, you have exploited, you are able to explain that to a person who has no idea about it. If you can do that, then yeah, you are a great pen tester, or you can say ethical hacker. How you can report it, there are various ways, but what I prefer that initially a complete ROE, so rule of engagements are there before any kind of pen testing. So according to your rule of engagement, there is a detail which will be shared. So that detail should be mentioned in the report. Then there is the severity of the vulnerabilities which you have found. Then comes a standard which you actually find in lot of reports. You need to mention the standard what we follow. So is there anyone out there? I guess Joseph have told you of one of the standards right now, that is OWASP. So yes, we can insert that standard as well. Once you have done with the ROE, then the severity part, then giving the standard itself. Then comes with the last part, detailed information of the vulnerability. In that detailed information, you need to make sure what endpoint you got that vulnerability, from where, like what is the impact of it, and how the developers can prevent it, how you can remediate it itself. And last is the POC part, that is a proof of concept, all the screenshots, all everything regarding the vulnerability itself. So this is a good way you can test your skills out about the reporting as well. And believe me, in most of the cases, reporting is the reason why you are getting hired for pen testing. The reason is lot of time you need to make sure you are able to explain what you have tested. So that is also very important. And then the last thing was about the standard which we follow. That is the OWASP top 10. So as I will just go quickly from this because I guess we are running out of time. So we will explain it as well. So there are top 10 standard vulnerabilities, or you can say attack surfaces, what mobile applications goes through. So these are frequently exploited vulnerabilities in a device. So improper credential usage. As I said, admin, or you can say the passwords are stored in the clear text. Everything regarding to the credential parts which are not properly organized has been comes under this category. Then goes with the inadequate supply chain security. Now, what is this supply chain security? When you are building up an application, there might be a scene when you are using third-party APIs. You are not using the in your self-built APIs. You are using third-party APIs or libraries itself. So, what if your application is completely secure? You have done your job great. What if they are not having a secure environment? So, if even their environment is triggered or exploited, it will be affected. Your application will be affected as well. So the supply chain security will come under the third-party libraries or the APIs, which are basically the third-party ones. Then the next is insecure authentication and authorization. So yes, all about the authentication part. That is what you can say SQL injection or whatever regarding the authorization part. Okay, fine. Let me ask you a simple question. So what can be the difference between authentication and authorization? So that can be a good one. Let's see how fast you can Google it. Anyone out there in the comment section, or you can unmute and tell it. So we can go ahead. Authentication, your authentication prove who you are. Oh yes, yes, exactly. Authentication login authorization to check the user have the role to access the content or not. Exactly. Comes first, authorization next. So yes, everyone is right in the session itself. Yes, authorization, authentication is basically you have passed the credentials, you are logged in, you are authenticated to the environment. Now the environment have given you the authorization to log in. That is difference. That is a major difference. So they check with the insecure authentication and authorization. Then goes with the next one, that is insufficient input output validation. All the input fields in your application must be validated properly, sanitized and everything. So there is no risk of having cross-site scripting or SQL injections like attack. Then there is an insecure communication. As I said, if your application is communicating over HTTP traffic, then obviously it is not secure. You're passing credential, it is going in the unencrypted format. So yes, this is not secure itself. Then there is inadequate privacy controls. This is a flaw which comes under IPC, which we have discussed. That is, can someone tell me what is a IPC full form? What we have earlier discussed. Let's see. I just want to keep this little interactive. Inter-process communication. Great, Ron. There are a lot of people attentive, and I guess you all are interested in mobile pen testing as well. Thank God. So inadequate privacy controls as well. It goes with the IPC, inter-process communication part. When there are some of the privacy controls. For example, your OTP is coming on your message. I don't want the application to access it. That's my privacy. So if the application is asking, it's obviously what you can say it is what you if the application is just going and putting without even asking me for permission, then that comes into inadequate privacy controls. You means it is a feature which they do, but if they do not ask you for permission itself, like suppose if they ask you for permission, can I access your message, you allowed, and then it is happening, it is a feature. They are not even asking you for permission. Once the message comes, it's directly getting into your device, then that's not how it works. Then goes with the insufficient binary protections. So this is a little low level thing in the mobile security. All about reverse engineering part will come over here. The ones who are interested in reverse engineering and binary analysis, yes, all about the low level programming language will be or low level vulnerabilities will be here. Then goes with the security misconfiguration. Anything which is misconfigured, any apply whatever functionality you feel it is exposing a lot of vulnerabilities, you can drop it in security misconfiguration. Then the last two is insecure data storage and insufficient cryptography. I will like if someone would explain me these two. Let's see. We are anyways running out of time. It can be just unmute and you can just say, or you can put it in the comment section as well. The insecure data storage or the insecure cryptography. So okay, let me explain it as well. So insecure data storage, yes, when your application is storing some data outside your sandboxing environment, and that data is completely into clear text. It is like adequately encryption is data and not done. Yes, exactly. So what happens? Cryptographic encryption. Yeah, you're very close. So first I will explain the data storage part. So data storage is like, yeah, you have a sandboxing environment. Data is getting what you can say is stored outside the sandboxing environment within your device itself, and it is all into clear text. Everything is which insecure. So that goes into your what you can say insecure data storage. It shouldn't happen. A lot of time I have seen the data have been stored in cache, or you can say your clipboard as well. When you control C, you control V, when you have pasted it, still it is in your clipboard as well. So this is the way where the data storage is insecure. And the last one is insufficient cryptography. Yes, the simpler one is when this data is stored but completely into plain text, it is not even encrypted itself, or else your whatever what you can say keys or security features are completely into plain text, is not encrypted. So that is when the insufficient cryptography comes into picture. Then so this is the last part. Uh, this is about the security testing in SDLC, which we have already discussed. That after designing phase, it will go to the development, and after development, it will go to the deployment part. And while deploying the what you can say the application, if your static testing has not performed, it will be again going to the development or the designing part, and then it is gone to the development deployment part. So this is how the SDLC security testing in SDLC will work. And let's move ahead. So beyond the skills, so what I have I've somewhere around 2 plus or 3 years of experience in application security. Until now, what I have understood, so whatever you do, whatever you practice, whatever you are testing, do it on an authorization base first. Ethical should be there, because there are a lot of consequences right now. A lot of laws are there out. So everything should be ethical first. Second, document your journey. The thing which I was saying about document your journey. Is there anyone who has a Git repo over here? GitHub repository or anything, Git repository or anything. They have done a finally a project or mini project. They have just put it on a Git repo. Yes, that's a good thing. So document your journey in the sense, if you understand anything, you know. Oh, bye. That's a great thing, man. I'll do check this as well. Windows system vulnerability agent. Yeah, great. I'll do check this one as well. So this is the exact thing which I was talking about. If you are learning new things, if you are gaining new skills itself, document them, keep it open source, let other cyber enthusiasts look after you and look you as a mentor, and make things like simpler for others as well to understand. And this will, what it will do two things. First, you will have a confidence of understanding the vulnerability. Second, the ones who are referring to your GitHub repository will obviously going to contact you or for the networking. So that will grow your networking as well. So this is one of the good part, The second part, as I said, had a good connection and network. Follow some of the great minds out there. You can go on LinkedIn, search for the people out there, and understand each and every what you can say how they have built their cybersecurity career and what you can do. Do do socials and everything. Oh, bhai, ek ke baad ek. So good. This is nice. Everyone has a Git repo. It was just about asking, and now everyone is out there. And the last, and I won't say this is important, but yes, getting certified for some conditions, I will say it's good. The only thing about getting certified is you are putting efforts towards that particular certification. Let's take a common certification, that is a CEH, which a lot of people have heard, or OSCP, or anything. A lot of people have heard about these certifications. So when you are obtaining such certification, I won't encourage to go and give 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs and go for that certification. It's not worth it. You can get that knowledge from different courses out there which have more, which have less, what you can say, pay, and have a good content itself. You can go and check them as well. The only thing is about the journey which you are going through that certification. You are going from step to step and understanding each and everything by the logic. So that's all about the certification part. Now, our socials. We have done with the session itself. And thank you so much for being an awesome audience. Everyone was so interactive, and yeah, I liked a lot. So if you have liked our webinar itself, you can just go on this and scan it. This is our WhatsApp community. You can join the WhatsApp community. There are a lot of updates which we put on this community itself about the courses, boot camps, workshops, or anything you name it. We do it, and we upload that on the community itself. Do take a screenshot of this particular page and make sure you follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Everything is over here. Or or you can also contact Miss Nandini to get these slides as well. And let's go forward. So this is one of the important part that we have tied up with the developers regarding the cyberstorm registration. You can just take a screenshot, or you can access this page and register yourself for the CTF. uh, Hello
Just to add to what Atharva said, so you could register on the Cyberstorm official website that will be created from the Google developer GDG's part, or you could register at our website, that is academy.redfoxec.com. You could register in either or, and we will just contact you regarding the CTF whenever the CTF registration phase starts, right? So you could just enroll in our academy.redfoxec.com for registration for the CTF. Yeah. So all the best, guys. I hope you have a wonderful journey about learning AppSec. And if you do have any queries, you can ask right now. So before that, I would like to add a point about like during to what Atharva said about beyond skills. So if you are like looking to join some sort of community, right? So there are about 4 or 5. Okay, one second. Okay, we'll clarify. We'll get back to the question of the coupons. Okay. So before that, what I would like to say is talking about the network and the communication other thing. So and to add on to the documentation as well, so GitHub is not only the only source for documenting your journey. What you could do is you could also start documenting it various platforms like X or Twitter is one of the best platforms in which most of the hackers are over there, right? So if you build a good audience in when we talk about Twitter or other platforms like LinkedIn is also one good platform, so that for your professional career, that's a really great choice. So you start building small, right? You start by posting something like you completed a course or you completed a daily activity. So when you are consistent with it, you will connect with like-minded people uh, on a daily basis, right? So that will help you a lot more. And about the networking, what you could do is you could join the local communities. What all basic skills? one second, we'll get to the question answer part just to complete this particular session. Yeah, so you could join the local communities. So if you are talking about cybersecurity communities in Mumbai, you could join Breach Force or THM, the hackers meetup, that is, or you could join Hack the Box. So there are a lot of cybersecurity communities. So you could join them, visit their session. They conduct sessions on monthly basis. You could interact with the people, ask questions, learn about them. You could also share your experience of cybersecurity with them. So you grow as a community, right? Any community in Pune, I think THM also has a community for Pune. And I after this session you can just message me on LinkedIn. If there is any, I will just send it across to you. Okay. Yeah. So and yeah, I have completed by yeah. So we can start with the quick Q&A. So coupons, no, that's so we are not providing coupons right now. Maybe in the second session, what we can do is we can um, like have coupons on the second session. That is, we'll be conducting something for like the newer technologies that we are going to be uh, so the second session will be based on the newer technologies, that is LLM, IoT, and the emerging technologies that we will be going to be demonstrating. So that is for the second session. So you could join that session, and we will be providing coupons for the courses over there. So the next question is, what all basic skills an intern should have to get into security? So even if so when we talk about security, right, so what is the job role you want to get into, right? So that is the most important question. Because if even in security, that is there is red teaming, blue teaming, there is purple teaming, there is various other jobs like OSINT investigators and other things, right? So you should have a goal to what you want to learn to, right? So if you talk about AppSec, okay, so if you are talking about AppSec, at least what you should know is about web application or API. You should have at least two. So if you have web application and API knowledge, then that's really good. You will, and if you, and that should be at a medium level. So basically, the issue is whenever client approaches for a pen test, right? So we cannot give a person who does not understand the intricacies of security and the actual pen test methodology and other things like reporting aspect and everything, right? So we should be really good with all sort of aspects. So that is the reason when we talk about interns, you should at least have good skill sets. So after you have good skill set, you can improve on reporting and other aspects of pen test as well, or you could build on top of your current skill set. So basically you should have at least intermediate level of web application and API security experience, not to get to an intern, but to get an actual job in pen testing field, that is, or AppSec. So could you share the recording link of this session? I think you could ask for it to the organizers, event
Yeah,
organizers. They
so
may be,
the
yeah,
the event recording would be available on the same group and the teams. We'll be sharing
sure,
you the link in the WhatsApp itself.
sure. Is certification necessary? Because they are a bit costly. So if you talk about your like you want to get into a job market, right? So if you want to put your best foot forward so that your selection might be easier, so you could do a certification, but it is not a mandatory. If you do have a good set of skill sets, and you if you have documented well your journey, and also you have a network, so you will be easily able to achieve get a great job. At least you will be able to get an initial entry into cybersecurity. But you have to do all the three things. You have to have a good network. You should have like good documentation of the skills that you have learned, and also a good skill set, that is. So it's basically you should be good with the skills. You should also document it and have a good network. So start building from now. So if you want a job like after 6 months, you should start building now. start building your profiles on each and every platforms which I mentioned. Or you could just reach out to the people who are already in the industry. You could ask their help as well. So yeah, how to report a vulnerability to a company for bug bounty. So yeah.
So Aman, yeah, that was a good question about how we can report a vulnerability. But it is like when you are doing a bug bounty, you would have some ROE, or you can say rules of engagement. You are doing a bug bounty. So they do share some of the reporting formats, or you can say what they are exactly looking for as a vulnerability itself. But you make sure that the what do you whatever testing type of testing you are doing on the particular infrastructure or any company, you are having a proper authorization. So first you need to check with the rule of engagement completely. After that, what is in scope, what kind of testing they are looking for, what kind of bugs or vulnerabilities they are interested in. Only after that you can build a good report itself.
So basically, when we talk about bug bounty reports, not a pen test report, so basically what they are trying to understand it, how did you find that particular vulnerability and you exploited it. So basically, what you could do is you could just like provide a proof of concept of the actual vulnerability and the step-by-step guidelines of how you found that. So you could do that, and yeah, that is enough for the when we talk about bug bounty. That reporting is fine. Hacker one. So basically, when we talk about reporting formats, it's not dependent on the platform, but instead the bug bounty program itself. Like for example, if Tesla has a bug bounty program, right? So they will have a set of rule sets that you should follow during your bounty. That is, yeah, got it. Yeah. If someone is just starting out, what is the most effective learning part to build a strong foundation in AppSec? So I will advise you to start with the technology that you know most, because I was really familiar with web applications and API. So that's the reason I started out with web application and API. Even before I graduated, I had like build some applications like during my project phase, like independently, not copying from the from GitHubs. Just trying to build something from myself. Do challenging stuff so that you understand, and yeah, you learn a lot more when you do things on your own instead of just copying and pasting from GitHub repos. So basically, start by learning. Yeah, yeah, we'll conclude the session early. Yeah, ठीक है. So what you should do is basically, so the technology which you are familiar with, just start that. Start learning about firstly start learning about the basic vulnerabilities. ठीक है. Just after you understand basic vulnerabilities, go over to the bug bounty platform, or like other open source applications which can be hosted on yourself, or on your local host machine. And what you could do is you could just host that test for that particular vulnerabilities which you want to establish, which you want to be really good at. Start learning and start learning about different types of test cases that you should perform for that vulnerability. Implement that for in your methodology. uh, Also learn about more advanced vulnerabilities like chaining attacks and all. Yeah. What? Oh yeah, the most important part, also create or also take really good notes. That will really help you guys during your pentest journey.
So hello everyone, this is Atharva. So uh, is there any question out there?
Or we could
Or
just
we will like to like conclude. I feel right now there is no questions. So thank you so much for this session. Actually, you are a so awesome audience out there. I can just see how much JavaScript is required in web application security.
if you are
A
just
lot. That's
no, no. If you're just starting out, you do not have to, like, you should be able to read JavaScript, but not like you. It is okay if you are not able to build applications with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about this developing part, but yes, if you are able to understand JavaScripts and able to read
Perform
it
it.
and do some kind of scripting, Yes, it is required for that purpose.
Yeah.
In some cases, if your application is built on Node.js, let's suppose, then there are some vulnerabilities which arises only because of the JavaScript misconfiguration. So at that moment, JavaScript, if you know that, then it's a plus point for you.
Yeah, so when you do a source code analysis, so that will be more advanced stage of what we do, right? So typically when I have worked with a lot of Indian clients, right? So most of them do not give about do not give us about sorry, do not give applications for white box testing. Mostly it will be a black box, or they will give us the basic credentials. So that will be a gray box for the application testing purposes. So you could, yeah. So what you could do is, so what you okay. So what I was trying to say is basically, if you do have a basic knowledge of JavaScript, you will be able to handle application security at initial end, and you can build on that. Okay, so you do not have to be a really good developer, or like something like that, but it will serve as a really good knowledge if you do have JavaScript. Yeah. ठीक है. Is there any questions? Okay. So yeah. So um, guys, please do check out our YouTube channel. We do constantly put out content on that. Regarding the courses that we do, we what we typically do is the experience that we typically share as pen testers in RedFox. We try to emulate that in our courses. So if you do want to like learn from real world scenarios, not just vulnerabilities, it's exploitation and how they are found out in the real world, you could just check out our courses at academy.redfoxsec.com. Or you after that, you could just read our blogs. We do post blogs as well on our website, that is redfoxsec.com, www.redfoxsec.com, that is. Yeah, so if you do have any queries, don't forget to like reach out to us. We will be really happy to help you guys. We also have a WhatsApp community. So if you are like, if you do want to share something, sorry, if you do have any queries, that is, you could just reach out to us on our community, which we have shared the socials link in the slides itself. You could just ask Nandini for that. She will guide you throughout that. Yeah. Thank you for being an amazing audience. Yeah. If there is no other questions, we can conclude that. Yeah.
All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. A huge thank you to Joseph and Atharva for such an insightful session, and of course to all of you for being here with us tonight. Before we wrap up, here are a few important things that you need to know about Cyberstorm. First and foremost, registrations open tomorrow at 10 a.m., so don't miss your chance to sign up and be a part of the action. We have an exciting prize pool of rupees 2.75 lakh. So if you're up for the challenge, now it's your time to shine. There are two categories, students and professional. So whether you are just starting out or already in the field, there is a place for you. The online round will take place on 29th March 2025, where you will compete remotely and showcase your skills. And for those who qualify, get ready for the offline round happening on 5th of April 2025, an intense battle where the top teams will compete in person. And hey, if even if you're not professional, don't worry. We have something for everyone, including exciting challenges and learning opportunities to help you get started in cybersecurity. Make sure to join our WhatsApp group and stay updated with all the latest announcements, event details, and important reminders. That's all for us. That's all from us tonight. Thank you once again for being a part of this session. We can't wait to see you at the Cyberstorm. Get ready, stay sharp. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Tisha. And hi, guys. This is Nandini Singh. I'm the organizer for GDG on campus SIES GST. I extend my thank you to Joseph and Atharva as well for such an amazing session. And once again, a thank you to all of you for being here till the very end and being super interactive. Again, the registration starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Make sure you are in the group already if you are not.